one.
Lions fans, it's time for the podcast you've been waiting for. The show where Kool-Aid runs blue, faces turn red, and rose-colored glasses never go out of style. This is the Detroit Lions Podcast, your Detroit Lions and Reddit connection. And now, two guys who run a 4-minute 40, Chris and Case.
Hey, howdy ho, Lions fans. Welcome to the Detroit Lions Podcast. This is episode 267. I am your dashing host, Chris, and with me is my good friend and co-host, Riz. How you doing, brother?
Hey, Chris, I miss you, buddy.
I missed you, too.
How you doing?
Good. Y'all
what am I,
up?
chopped liver?
That's the best you'll ever be. We got a big show today.
OB Case, by the way.
We got the case of the missing pass interference review, a.k.a. Al Riveron sucks. Agnew is sliding to the other side of the ball. Frank Ragnow getting some love from the PFF. Maybe another guy is getting some as well. And let's face it, a whole lot of you just don't know how football works. We got a whole lot going on. That, a whole lot more. Great show lined up. Riz, you ready to go, my man?
Let's do it.
Let's kick this off and break it down.
All right, a couple of quick announcements first. Check us out and help us out on the Patreon. Special thanks to the Dill Master, Dylan from
Guam.
Wow.
There we go. In harmony.
Yeah, Dylan's getting a double dose. Of course, our very first donor, Mathis and Brian B. Brian Burkheiser from I Prevail, iprevailband.com. Check them out. Give them some love. I think they're going to be touring soon. Not next week, but soon. Brian's been chomping at the bit to get out on the road.
A new reworked single came out today, too.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. How do we know these guys? How do we hang out with them? Well, they all hang out with us on Patreon. Patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast. It gets you access to the Slack chat when you join us there for as little as $1 a month, as much as you want, though. You get aboard the Patreon, you get the Slack chat, you get access to that, you get an invite within a couple hours or maybe right away when you get in there. It takes, sometimes I'm sleeping, but we get you in there, and you can hang out with some of the most intelligent Lions chat you're going to find on the internet, period. Of course, we also have the Dumb F's channel, and we have a beer channel, and a barbecue channel, and a couple other ones. A stocks channel, we call that gambling. A whole lot of great conversation going on that we talk about a whole lot of really, really cool stuff. That I am.
The beer channel. Hold it up.
Oh, nice. Is it Masagave?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
With grapefruit. Very good.
Yes.
And that was a little tart, but very good.
I can tell you that it's the best place. It's the place where I get most of my internet love and excitement. So check us out, patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast. Join everybody there and get yourself hooked up with a good dose of smart people. All right, give us a review or give us a like on Facebook. Facebook, we revived it and it's starting to come alive again. Facebook.com/The Detroit Lions Podcast. Facebook.com/The Detroit Lions Podcast, and Instagram Detroit Lions Podcast, and on the Twitter beast at DET Lions Podcast. Give us a follow at DET Lions Podcast. It's the best place to see both of these boys.
Man, it's too hot for pants.
All right, subscribe on YouTube, youtube.com/Detroit Lions Podcast. Hit the notification bell so you know when we go live and when we put our great new exciting stuff up front. I've got some really cool stuff we'll show you, and we've been working on some pretty cool stuff. So keep an eye there. Get there, get subscribed. Rate us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, iHeart, Pandora. I don't know, all those things. Wherever you go, give us those 5-star reviews. We appreciate them. We've got some really, really nice reviews from you guys, and it's a lot of fun. Yeah, there is a barbecue channel, Eric, in the Slack. You guys call via Skype, Detroit Lions Podcast, or call us in Lions line at 929-33-LIONS, 929-335-4667. Leave us a message and get a chance to hear yourself on the show.
Tighten your chin straps, kids. It's time to review This Week in Reddit.
And it's time to talk about all the fun and exciting things going down this week in Reddit. And boy, do we have some stuff going on first. Pass interference review. Boys, it's Gonzo. As I said, a.k.a. Al Riveron is a jerk. This is something we wanted. We really, really wanted and could have been so friggin' good. What exactly happened to us? What happened to this?
Well, I mean, so we had Dean Blandino on the show covering the last 2-3, I don't even remember how long now, years we've had him on, as an occasional guest.
I remember him.
And we've talked to him about this specific issue. I know we talked about it with him this last offseason, this offseason before it happened, and I'm fairly sure we talked about it with him last offseason. And we had the conversation about whether or not he thought it was a good idea or not. And he and I disagreed. And I said, I do think it's a good idea. And he said, it's a bad idea. Ultimately, he was right. But I'll say he was right by default because...
He was talking about with you?
Well, sure, fine. But I mean... It's all right. It's all right. I live with it.
Gonna be that kind of show.
But I mean, he was right because... And whether or not he knew it at the time, Al Riveron and the NFL and however you choose to put that through your own perspective, decided to completely tank the whole concept. Like they had an opportunity to make it a legit thing and just completely neglected to do so. It was completely ignored and obfuscated and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, there's your obfuscated. From the get-go. And so it never really had a legitimate chance to look the way that fans would have liked to have seen it look. And I think that sucks. I think that really sucks.
So one of the things that Dean said...
Get over it.
Did he say obfuscated?
Obfuscated.
That'd be obfuscated?
Let me check in.
I'm toast.
Yes. Okay, I got it.
One of the things that Dean said when he was shooting you down politely, Case, was that he thought that the review process of having the guys on the field deciding if the guys on the field made a mistake or not was never going to work. And I may or may not have led him down that road, but he certainly agrees with it. And it's something that Riveron fiercely does not want to do. And if you saw, one of the other things that they did in getting rid of the rules today was that they negated by vote the eye in the sky. There was a proposal to have the eye in the sky official.
Which I hate so much that they're doing this. They're going backwards. Well, but that's my personal opinion on it, not theirs, obviously.
No, and one of the things that they said was that, and Dean has said this, and I know just from working with a college basketball official, they're dancing with reviews there. It gives the officials on the court or on the field, it makes them feel more tentative. They don't feel like they are as in control of the game as they are. They feel like they're going to be overshadowed is the wrong word, but like they're not going to be taken as seriously.
Get fucking used to it. Sorry for my language.
Well, yeah, I mean that's part of your job, but
that's my feeling on it. Like I get overshadowed. I get looked over at my job, and I don't always like it, but I have to do it. I have to do it.
Yes. Well, one of the things that they're coming up is that they are having trouble getting new people in, and one of the reasons they are is because they feel like, oh, well, why do you need me if you're just going to overrule me?
Mm-hmm.
Jesus Christ, make them full time. There are ways around this.
Yeah. The way to take care of it is not to make for a less fair or less
and
real
this is
game.
Obviously this is all my personal opinion on it. I just think that they severely mishandled the situation as a way
they didn't want it.
Make a few people happy.
The officials clearly didn't want it. When we talked, when we were there at training camp, when the officials were there, and they were who was there this year? Was it Brad?
Oh, God, I don't remember. Yeah.
But they were very clear that, and especially the back judge who was sitting right behind me in the media room, he's like, this isn't good. Like, it's going to make me more tentative in what I'm going to try and call.
See, that's the wrong attitude. Again,
It is,
And I agree.
But Dean Dean saw that was going to happen.
Yeah. So
And I do appreciate that Dean saw exactly what that was. I'm not going to disagree with that. And it's not that I don't misunderstand me saying this, and that I don't feel for the referees. I just think that wholesale getting rid of a thing that the fans wanted because it's difficult
the Gestalt
is not the good way around the situation.
And it also
look. You cannot.
It wasn't used either.
You cannot create the rules around what the prisoners or the crazies want in the asylum, right? It has to be what's the output, what's the product we're putting out there. I don't care if it's sports. I don't care if it's a assembly line. I don't care if you're a mechanic in a shop. The idea is to get it right for the customer, and what to take. As a mechanic, when I was working my way through college, working on cars, I had to eat my own. Anyway, I had to get hosed on a bunch of jobs because the customer needed something, and I won't say the automaker or the dealer, but they weren't going to pay for it. They weren't going to pay for the amount of time it took to do that. But you know what? It was all about walking away with a happy customer. Of course, the car also came back and was my problem that I had to deal with again the next time if I didn't fix it right. There's all kinds of, in the real world, you have to deal with it. And the idea that you can't hire the appropriate talent because it's a little tough, that doesn't fly for me. The end result has to be a better product, and the fact that that's not at the forefront of this. You're right. Blandino saw it coming, and that's great because he's really tuned in. But the gestalt of that ref room should not be what dictates the rules. The referees work for the league. They have a set of rules and a gestalt, a system for how those rules are implemented. If the idea that I'm going to be more tentative to call it because I might be proven wrong, no. You should be really adamant in that you know what you're doing. A quarterback that knows that they can throw a good ball and know what they do. They throw balls into small windows and they make great plays. You know what refs need to do? They need to get they just need to go ahead and start knowing that they're a good ref and start making great calls. Period. That's what you do. End of story.
And one of Dean's points again was to not have the guys that are on the field being in charge of the review of the guys that are on the field. This needs to be something that, if it's going to be done right, has to be done from a neutral party that doesn't have to go back into the referee huddle at the next time and say, "Hey, bud, you were wrong."
Right.
Right. No, I also agree
needs to be
with
done
that.
post game, and that is a Al Riveron issue.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to crap on Al Riveron, that's a great place to take a crap.
Now, my question before we move on from this is, what if we have some absurd controversies this year that could have been fixed by this? How is the fan backlash? Will it be even bigger? Will the fan backlash be even bigger because this could have been solved?
I hope something happens in a Saints game. That's all I got to say.
It would be a Saints Vikings game. That's that would be priceless.
Glorious.
I'll tell you that this will be the year. It'll absolutely happen.
So
this will probably be. I just think already, not even that piece aside, I think this is probably Riveron's last year. I just don't believe that he's going to be able to survive the way he handles his job. I don't think he's going to survive another year in the NFL.
I think we'll revisit this topic eventually.
I'm sure we will. I'm sure we'll need to.
I've got to, don't forget the hashtag hire Blandino. Okay. A couple other rules things.
I'm down with that. I really do love that man.
I do too. That's great. Good. Whoa. Wait. Oh, that was for Blandino. Got it. Couple other ones I just want to hit on really. The competition committee came up with no more manipulating the game clock by committing dead ball fouls while the clock is running. That was so poetic to watch Belichick get burned by his own snidely
Mike
little moves.
Vrabel ramming it right back in his face, and Belichick going crazy on the sideline.
Yeah.
That was worth it.
I'm sure John Harbaugh sent roses to Vrabel too after that one. That's great. And then the other one is the defenseless player protection on kicks or punts. Who's in possession of the ball but has not had time to avoid or ward off the impending contact or opponent. So they've kind of expanded that defenseless receiver or defenseless player protection, which I think is fair. Because as we know in the NFL, it's an extremely dangerous kind of play there for those guys to get hit, and then they are absolutely defenseless. But we also know from the XFL that can be done a hell of a lot better. Because God, did they nail it?
before we move on real quick, I have an appreciation for the competition committee and the rule changes they make over time, even if I don't agree with all of them, and or retractions in them. But I know a lot of fans get upset that anything changes with the game, but I think that's a very silly point of view. I think that part of the reason that the whole onside kick thing with the 4th and 15 that we're likely to see, I do too. And I think we've seen the success rate of onside kicks go down and down and down over the last decade, and
6% over the last 3 years.
And while I'm not necessarily, here's what I'll say about it. I do think there are certain teams out there who benefit more from it than others, but I also think that will even out over time depending on how important a factor in the game it becomes.
Sure.
But I generally think that it's important for the game to keep morphing itself, because if you want to keep the game as exciting as possible, if it stayed exactly the way it was in the 50s and 60s, people wouldn't be tuning in at the way they are today. And it's been the changes to the game that have made it more exciting and made it different as time goes on, and as adaptations in the way teams themselves and smart coaches like Belichick come up with ways around the rules and things of that nature. If it weren't for the changes, it would have stagnated a long time ago. And so if you're just strictly upset that the game that you love changes at all, I think you're very much in the wrong.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to move on. We got another topic here it's a good one. It's been top of people's minds lately. I know in the Slack chat it's been rich discussion. I came down pretty hard, and I'm gonna do that here again, and then I'm gonna backtrack like I did in the Slack chat. Jamal Agnew is switching positions, moving the other side of the ball. He's going to move to a wide receiver role. My initial reaction was that means Jamal Agnew will not be on this team in 2020. That was my immediate reaction. Then I had a little bit of time to think about it. And I was like,
I think Jeff and I are going to agree on this.
No,
I think you were right on your initial reaction, but go ahead and finish.
Trust your initial impulse, because it was right.
Well, the only reason I had my other impulse was, if I think back to the beginning of last year and some of the return failures that occurred, we'll say, I was sure he was gone, and then he turned it around and saved his own bacon pretty quick and showed himself to be a pretty strong return man. Is that going to be enough to keep him on the team? I don't know, but I can't count him out yet. The guy showed up when he needed to last year, and I just can't count him out for showing up this year. There's something about heart on guys in the NFL like that, like just like him, that make it. So as much as my initial reaction was that, I can't just say he's going to be gone, because he's got something.
What the position change tells you is that he has failed at cornerback, and they are looking for a reason to justify a roster spot for him when he is an enigmatic at best kick returner and punt returner. So
who has a hard time hanging onto the ball. Let's not forget, he is electric, but
he is. So he got, and so I'm going through.
You want to give him more chances to hang onto the ball when that's been a problem?
Well, exactly.
Make him
one of the things I'm doing, I'm going through on Lions Wire, and I'm watching all the games over. I'm through 3 games now.
We're talking about that later.
I'm sorry, but I want it because it applies to Agnew.
We're time traveling, Chris.
The first game against Arizona, Jamal Agnew is directly responsible for the reason the Detroit Lions did not win that football game. It is 100% on Jamal Agnew that they did not win that game. Inarguable.
Mm-hmm.
He blew it. Second game, he gets the ball taken out of his hands like it's me going against my 5th grade daughter. It got nullified by a penalty, but then after that, they brought Danny Amendola in, and Amendola immediately was better.
Your daughter won that one, by the way. I just want to make sure, right? Okay.
My daughter kicks ass.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was just want to clarify for people who may have been confused.
So then we get to the Eagles game, and he runs back the opening opportunity. It's after Philadelphia scored for a touchdown. And I watched that game, and I watched the All-22 again this morning, and it was a nice run, but I got to say, D. Virgin and Will Harris and somebody else all threw just incredible blocks for him.
Will Harris, of all people.
Exactly. Another guy who was culpable in that first game because he didn't know how to protect on a field goal or a punt.
Just got lit up for his block again, or for his attempted tackle of Saquon in the Giants game too, where he just got put on the ground.
But the thing with Agnew is that the return that he got against Philadelphia, Amendola can do that. Jason Huntley can do that. Ty Johnson can do that.
Mm-hmm.
If they can all contribute elsewhere on the team too. And Agnew, we've seen him try to be that gadget player. He was McKissick the years before McKissick was on the team.
Right.
It's a 15 to 20 touch a year role. Again, they just drafted Jason Huntley to do that. They're trying to make a spot for him and Ty Johnson.
What about Huntley? How many? What I don't. If I remember right, he doesn't have a whole lot of returns under his belt.
He does not.
Right.
He does not.
Yeah.
They were protective of him because he was their offense.
Right. Okay.
He is no longer in that role.
Yeah,
So
we're the Lions.
Yes.
real quick. Without going too in depth on the specifics, I think the only chance that Agnew would have is in the slot wide receiver depth position, because I think it's a very interesting position for the Lions coming up this year, because the only straight up wide receiver the Lions have, who I think backs up Danny Amendola on paper, is Cephas.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a totally different player than Danny Amendola. So if you, and then I think you have Huntley and Agnew working on maybe filling in some depth at that position. And so I think, like, if he were to find himself electric at that spot in training camp, maybe he sneaks in onto the roster.
I feel like Huntley is a lot more in tuned for that role than Agnew is.
Well, I would agree with that too. I see Huntley as, a JD McKissick type, but
the problem
he's also bigger. I think the Agnew's 5'9", 178 pounds.
Yeah, the problem
for some slot, but
yeah. But the problem I see is really, if Agnew's lined up in the slot, it's a gadget play, like 8 out of 10 times, because he's not getting the ball. Right, you probably don't have to cover him because he can't catch. And of course, I'm exaggerating right here. I'm taking it to an extreme, but the idea is I just don't see he's so limited in what he can do that if he lines up, he's a lot easier to cover and defend against, because like Riddick, right? Oh, Riddick's on the field. Well, he can't run between the tackles. Yeah, we
linebacker, go outside.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe the single most important trait of a slot receiver is being able to hang on to the football, and I'm just not sure Agnew would be able to do that if he got popped.
Hang on
going
in
over
traffic.
The middle.
On quick hitting pass plays.
Right. I'm just not sure about that. I'm not sure about that. If you could get him in space, that's one thing, but I'm not sure that that's the offense that we have.
Who's the guy who caught 7 passes and it was electric as hell, but only
Marvin
caught
Hall?
7? Yes, Hall. Thank you.
Yeah.
I want to say Hunt. I still got
He's
KJ
still
Hunt
an
in the
outside
mind.
receiver. So.
Right. But the thing that he did,
he literally only runs straight down the field.
Well, I mean, but that's where Jamal might actually be able to fill in.
That's fair.
Run straight down the field real fast. So there you go. So you got limited on what he could do. So Jamal Agnew switching positions. The guy, he seems to have a great personality. He's had a lot of fun. He's had a couple.
Jamal.
Yeah, a couple errors along the way that have really hurt. So we'll have to see.
I wish that he had developed into the cornerback that we wanted him to develop.
Yeah.
I just didn't see that happen. The way we used him, never felt like we were using him and growing his cornerback skills. To be honest with you, I just never saw him getting the reps and the kind of growth in the other roles he was playing that would help him as a cornerback.
It seemed like Mike Ford took over that role of the developmental sort of project special teams. He's not the return guy, but a special teams specialist who also happens to play cornerback, and Ford does pretty good at that. So.
Yeah. All right, really quick, I want to say, I know you're hurting. I know you're hurting inside. I know you're hurting outside. You've been working out because you got the COVID going on. You're stuck in your house. I'm stuck at least, I don't want to say stuck, but I'm not going back to work in the office. I get to work from home at least through Labor Day, they said today. That's
wow.
Yeah. I'm kind of loving it, right? But so what do you got to do? I'm not getting the steps I used to get, and I'm realizing that this is not playing well. It's time to get my butt humping around and get moving. I got to pull out the weights. I got to get the old bike again and dust them off and get working. But it hurts afterwards. It hurts a lot afterwards. And what do you need to do after you work out? You need to recover quickly so you can get back to workout, and you can hit cbd.detroitlionspodcast.com and get help with that. I see Case throws a bicep up there. Let's see what you got going on. Yeah, that's cheddar rolls popping right there, buddy. The cheddar biscuits. But
that's actually what my girlfriend's parents call me, is biscuits.
Cheddar biscuit.
No, biscuits. They started calling me biscuits.
Okay. All right, we'll get into this
All
later.
right.
We'll get into this later.
Yeah.
All right, it's the insomnia. It's the bodily pain. We talked about that before, and it's also the quicker recovery from those workouts when you're in pain. Head over to cbd.detroitlionspodcast.com. It's Diamond CBD. They've got some great stuff. It doesn't get you high. It's not what it's after. You guys in Michigan, it's you go by the shop, whatever, if that's what you're after. This is truly a pain relief, a sleep relief, and a way to help yourself feel better. I use it. It's been great ever since I got it. cbd.detroitlionspodcast.com. They've got the Tommy Chong chewables. They've got Lawrence Taylor line of products as well. If you feel you want to be a little less chongy, a little more athletic, you can go that route, right? But they got good stuff. They'll help you out. They'll help you recover. They'll help you get the sleep that you want and get to where you check it out. cbd.detroitlionspodcast.com, and they'll give us a little kickback. And it's a great way to go to help the show and help your body feel better. All right. Moving on. There's this guy, and nobody's really been able to come up with a good nickname for him. I've heard all kinds of really bad ones and
we've shut
forced
down
ones.
The bad ones, yeah. We've seemed to have shut down most of the bad ones.
Yeah, but there's new people coming on the Reddit all the time, right? So Kenny Golladay. Let's take a forward view on him. There's been some kind words spoken about him, and Case, you know what? Before we even get it, I want to roll out. We talked about a new segment, and I was referring to something different, but I'm not going to be able to do it till next week. But we do have something new that is really, really. It came up during the draft show. Before we get the evaluation, let's just call this a segment. We should probably do this once a show. We're going to have Case ride the fence.
I see a white fence and I want to paint it brown. No colors anymore, this fence, it must be brown.
Oh, that's Case stolen from a show. How about that?
Yep.
Case coming here to tell us Kenny Galladay's really good, but boy, does he have a couple things he needs to work on. Go for it, Case. We got your intro, buddy.
For starters, PFF had come out this week and said they predict that Kenny Golladay will have the third most receiving yards in the NFL this year. And I don't necessarily think they're wrong.
It could happen.
It could happen. I do think there was also a hilarious post on the subreddit, and I'm not going to call out the user by name, that said if Kenny Golladay didn't have his size and his strong hands, he'd be a below average receiver. I was like, well,
Wait, what?
I thought it was to be fair, it got demolished.
I got to say, if Michael Jordan had leg braces, I bet he wouldn't have been a basketball player either.
Hell! Oh my God!
No, it was good. I think Kenny Golladay is a very good receiver, and I'm not sure whether or not he's reached his peak. The question mark comes at what is he worth and what is the dollar value worth to extend him, because there's two major things going on. One, we've seen wide receivers get overpaid more than once. We had one of them
in Detroit.
Wait.
We had one of them.
Who could that have been? I don't remember that. Let's see. Was it Brett Perriman?
Probably.
How much you got?
I can't even do it now.
I'm pretty sure Chris Durham got overpaid, but
Riz just kicked that joke right. You kicked it right between the nuts there, Riz. Thank you for putting a stop to it. Go ahead, Case.
Anyway, we've seen it happen. We've seen wide receivers get overpaid, and they can be a top tier wide receiver. They can be the best wide receiver in the league and still be overpaid by a significant margin based on their impact on the team. And that's what I would fear would happen. And that's why I think they probably haven't already come to an agreement with him, is because he is going to be looking for that kind of top dollar. And he's not. While he is, he's easily a top 10 wide receiver in the league. You could make arguments about him approaching the top 5, although, I think we as Lions fans sometimes get maybe a little overzealous on those things. I think I could easily pick 5 guys that I would put ahead of him, but maybe not 6 or 7. He's going to be looking for, based on my impression of his attitude, which I think is a good attitude for him, but he does have a little bit, if you look more closely at the kind of things he says when he's on the field, he does have he has a very healthy respect for his own abilities. And I think that's a good thing. I don't think that's a bad thing, but I also think that's going to lead to him asking for a whole lot of money. And I'm not sure the Lions would be in their best interest to make him the highest paid wide receiver in the league.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid that Lions fans are going to have a little bit of a shock overall when that becomes the reality we're faced with. Make him the top paid wide receiver in the league or let him go somewhere else.
Yeah, so just for comparison's sake, last year he was 7th in receiving yards with 1,190. Michael Thomas had 1,725. Of the qualifiers, he was 3rd in yards per reception at 18.3. He did have 11 touchdowns, which led the league, which is great. But he was not in the top 20 in any of those categories the year before. So if you paid him like the top wide receiver in the league, you'd be paying for the outlier. Sorry, Jeff. And he's also older than most people. He turns 27 this season. That's pretty advanced for a guy who's entering his contract year, his first or his second contract, which means he is absolutely going to try to get paid because it's probably, in all honesty, the last chance he will get to get a massive payday unless he somehow takes a 1-year deal or gets franchise tagged. He'd probably love to get franchise tagged because it would be top 5 salary, and then he's a free agent the next year. He won't see it that way, but he probably should. So he is definitely going to look to break the bank. And I haven't looked at what the salary figures are yet, but if he's asking for top 5 wide receiver money, he's not a top 5 all-around wide receiver in the league. He was close to that last year. He has not been that previously. He's got to prove that he can do it again.
Let me ask really quick, what's going to be the effect of COVID on and TV revenues here on the salary cap? Because that's really one of the things
that is the other part
really need to think about.
They have been really, really quiet about that.
Yeah.
That's not something that they're not even leaking that stuff to Schefter or anything. That's like really behind closed.
Which I think is exactly a good reason for the Lions not to make that extension this offseason. For sure.
And that's exactly where my head's at. He's a great play. He's a great wide receiver. Is he the greatest? Like you said, Case, probably not. Could he be complimented very highly maybe with someone we pick next year, or maybe we get in free agency? Oh, absolutely. Right. That could be a thing. But how is the salary cap going to affect all of this stuff based on revenues and everything else? And that's the thing. You don't want to pay anybody really right now the highest amount of anything, not knowing if the cap goes down. Can you imagine the deleterious effect it would have? See how I did that instead of a fustigate?
Yeah.
You getting litigious over there?
I'm obfuscating.
The flip side of the whole argument is the Lions will be in really, really terrible shape at wide receiver going forward.
Oh, yeah.
If they don't
right now, they've got
severely address it next year. Right. Isn't Marvin Jones under contract for next year?
Well,
is his last year?
He's done after this year.
Okay. So I mean, all 3 of those guys are gone after this year.
And Marvin is underappreciated.
Oh, I agree. And I wouldn't be surprised.
Wonderful.
I'd be happy to give him another 1 or 2 year contract.
Honestly, I think Marvin is a better all-around receiver than Galladay. But again, he's not going to get paid that way because he's going to be 33.
Right. I'd be happy to see him stick around for another 1 or 2 years.
Galladay has a lot of leverage here. It's going to be interesting to see how he plays that leverage. We don't know how that's going to go out yet. And keep in mind, you've got to pay.
I feel like I just stuck my dick in everybody's cocoa or something. So
that's nasty.
Yeah.
It's nasty.
It's for marshmallows. Case.
we're trying to. I'm sorry. We're trying to stay. We're trying not to get.
You've got to also pay Taylor. Taylor Decker
but,
is going to get the same contract that Jack Conklin got this offseason.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And he's worth it. You cannot go to battle without a good left tackle. You just can't. And he's a good one. He's not great.
Yep.
But I've seen the alternative. Average. Yes, he's fine for what he does.
Yep.
And he's gonna get 13 to 15 million a year. And
I'm fine with that.
The one thing we like in the chat they're talking about Jordan. He's saying that he heard saw a rumor that Kenny G's mom saying he wanted to go to Chicago. It would be interesting, right? If
he's from there,
yeah.
So
it's possible. We hear a lot of rumors, right?
There's a lot of stuff.
It would be. I wish nothing but the best for Kenny. But if he went to Chicago next year, and they were starting their rebuild at quarterback,
you'd give him the Tanya Harding on the way out.
It would be really interesting. It would be really interesting and unfortunate for him, So
that's not a threat, is it?
No. What I'm saying is, it would be an unfortunate situation for him to leave here to go to Chicago, only to be
from catching
faced
passes, passes from Matthew Stafford to going to
an unknown situation.
The winner of the Trubisky Foles, like who the hell?
Or whoever they bring in next,
Yeah, for the right amount.
Whoever they trade up to get and trade like the next 4 years.
In the draft, they'll be getting the kid from North Dakota State.
Hey, Trey Lance.
The thing is,
he can play.
It does. If you
he can.
If you're a guy who's signing a big contract,
I would hate
like
that.
he is, and you're going over, it doesn't matter. If I'm Kenny Golladay and they offer me the number one pay for a wide receiver, and I know that Mitch Trubisky's throwing the ball at me, that just means I'm not getting hurt because the ball's not going to be anywhere near me, and I'm not going to take the hits. It's going to be a great season. You take the money and you walk away and say thank you very much and go have a great retirement and live a long, happy life as a result.
It's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out because Golladay does have more perceived leverage than most receivers do when they're entering the situation because the Lions don't have anybody else. They are still a pass-based offense. And I
haven't really looked deeply at who the free agent wide receivers are next year to see who else we could potentially bring in. But
hopefully somebody better than Geronimo Allison.
Whoa! Hey!
Hey, he's pushing Marvin Hall off the team. So.
I can't argue. All right. I tried. I got nothing for you. All right. So there you go. There's Kenny Golladay. There's Case sliding along the fence as usual, painted brown. I want to say thanks to Matt Leffler for putting that together. Or Matt Leffler. I'm not sure. It doesn't have the U in it, so I want to say Matt Leffler.
Probably Leffler.
Yeah.
Like Scheffler, but with
we can bring in Larry Fitzgerald.
Why not?
I'm good with it. I really like Larry Fitzgerald. He's going to.
This conversation is already over. Case, just stop.
We could bring in Allen Robinson.
Just stop. It's over.
He's a free agent next year.
It's over. We've already got Agnew. That's all we need. All right. Going to look forward now. Somebody else getting some PFF love. A young man who's he's Case's size. Frank Ragnow. He's been getting some love from PFF. You saw Case with the big cheddar biscuit biceps going on. You know what's going on.
Baby.
He's running the ball for you up the center.
Oh yeah, baby.
Frank Ragnow getting some love from PFF, and that's good news. I mean, look, anytime you get love from PFF, we know it's its own system. It's not perfect. Nobody's system is perfect unless we talk about the Quintress system from the Elephant Walk, but we'll leave that one be. We know none of these systems are perfect, but PFF has a decent system, and if you get some good kudos out of it, you take it and you run with it. Right there, is that how you feel?
Absolutamente.
There you go. Okay.
Say that again.
Absolutamente. It's the masa agave. It's making me spit.
Now we're doing multiple syllabic words in foreign languages. Boy, this is going to be an interesting show at the end.
That's good.
Our lexicon is growing by the hour.
Me gusta tortugas. All right, Case. Case, tell us why you hate PFF but love Frank Ragnow.
I use Marajande.
We really do not have time to go into that whole thing.
Just talk about Frank for us.
No. I think that do a relatively good job with offensive linemen. I still don't want to, I wouldn't take it as gospel necessarily, but short of other options to look at, I think they do a relatively good job with offensive linemen. And he did it. He was, what was he, the number 7th pass blocking center, and something like the number 2 run blocking center?
Yes, he was number 2 in run. And
so, I mean, I mean, he's really underrated in terms of the NFL landscape. That's a big part of playing in Detroit, but we should be happy. We don't have a lot to talk about necessarily here. We should just be happy we have Frank Ragnow.
He's awesome. You get skeptical about taking a center in the first round.
Right. For sure.
He's the best lineman on the team. He's probably the best lineman in the NFC North, and there's some good linemen in this division. He is so good.
I have to say, Quinn, and we're going to do the Decker one next. I'm going to change around the order a little bit, but I have to say that Quinn has done actually a really good job with this line, even though the line is where it is. The talent that's been available, he's spent the draft capital. The talent that's been available in free agency. We've got an above average offensive line, or we've had an above average offensive line from one that was pure trash, right? It was just a flaming dumpster fire. It was black smoke and stink coming out of that thing. You would have thought it was out behind AutoZone in Minneapolis. It was so bad, but sorry.
Oh man,
it was a flaming dumpster fire though. Based on the talent that's been available,
take it how you. Real quick, just to jump in real quick, to take it how you would choose to take it, but we ranked 11th on PFF's offensive line rankings for the season last season. Take it how
that's with the guard rotation.
By the way, that is with the rotation.
And I've been watching these, and I've been taking notes on it. Guys, Kenny Wiggins, he doesn't suck.
No, he's getting better all the time.
He's not great. He is not a liability. Is the best way to say it. And I think a lot of people view him as being this incompetent boob that's out there. He's better than that. In fact, in 2 of the first 3 games that I've watched, he's been better than Glasgow.
There you go. Ooh, Scott, I just want to apologize in advance. Scott Warhite, this is a message for you. Riz said that, and he was not inspired to do that.
You, Scott.
We've got the Warhite scale, and it's great. This works really well. It is weighted though, and you'll have players from Michigan that seem to weigh a little higher in the Warhite scale, but that's okay, right? No measurement is perfect. I would make the statement that Quinn's done as good a job as probably any GM could, who's had to build from such a trashy offensive line to where we are today, and with this kind of guard rotation. Frankly, at some point soon, we're going to be able to settle on what that line is without a rotation, I think this is just the best way to try out as many guys as you can, get the right guy, and go with them, and train up the guys, because there's so many rookies and so many young guys without the experience that you don't have a massive cliff you're falling off if somebody gets hurt and you have to plug somebody in. So we'll see if it works out.
Now, man. Jonah Jackson starts all 16 games at left guard.
Ooh. I wouldn't be disappointed with that. I would not be disappointed with that at all. Look, we all want to see Penasini stuffed in there too, so we'll see how things go. Yes, we do. That's my first play. All right, really quick, want to talk about don't want to do Fanatics yet. I want to talk about Taylor Decker. Sorry, I'm going to move him in there. He was effectively passed an 8th grade love note in class by the Lions organization. They're talking about his contract. We know he's a good player, right? A lot of people give him crap for a player or two that really, really stood out, but for the most part, Taylor Decker's a really, really good left tackle. He's not number 1 in the league, but he's definitely not number 10. He's a good left tackle, and he's a guy you want to keep. Negotiations, start whenever they start, but basically they said, "Hey Taylor, we really like you," right? Which is where the passing of the note in 8th grade.
Will you go
and then there's the "Do you like me too?" checkbox, yes or no, right? And so they're waiting for the note back, and I think they got the note back in the Zoom call today, right? When they got to see the interview with Taylor Decker. So I feel like that's kind of the start of the conversation and bringing him back again with the way the unknown about the salary cap. I think that's a really, really good start at this point for a team to talk about a guy who's going to command some real money and who you're going to pay real money because you're happy to have him. That's probably a good start to the conversation, as good as you're going to get at this point so far. But I think basically they're pointing to they're going to bring him back. What do you think, Riz? Am I high? Am I on too much CBD?
That is not an intoxicant.
That's right.
You told me that. Yes. No, I think you're right. I think it's smart to try to get something done, get it preemptive, because the market for tackles only ever goes up.
Yep.
Faster they get it done.
Yeah.
Even if you don't like Taylor Decker, the options of replacing him, you don't want to go there.
What do you think, Case? Are you a fan, or do you want to toss him out and bring in? God, I don't even know. Greg Robinson, see how he does at left tackle.
Well, I
he's
mean,
in
the
federal
interesting
prison,
thing.
so it'll be tough.
The interesting thing is, I think that we got rid of. We do have 3, spots up for grab on the offensive line. So, I mean, we don't know what we're going to get this year out of the offensive line. But in theory, we got rid of the 3 weakest players on the offensive line, the 3 weakest starters, in theory, starters on the offensive line.
Yes.
And we kept the depth, who did a okay job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so
that's very fair.
So there's good reason for at least mild optimism that we'll be able to maintain the level we were at, even if, offensive line, and God knows, we all know the wheels can come off of that at any minute, but there's at least cause for mild optimism that they could repeat what they did last year.
Okay. That's good. Yeah. Okay, we got a question from Brandon. Is Decker as good as Backus? El Jefe?
He's better.
That's what I think too. Backus was nice. He was good. He was a committed guy.
Backus was more consistent. Decker has, and I've said it many times, he has 2 or 3 plays every game where you wonder if he's ever played football before. But those are literally the only plays where he's not good.
Yeah.
The rest of the game, he's great.
And they always stand out. They're always on the replay, right? And I think he gets in from the haters out there. I think he gets an unfair knock because there seems, it's a lot like a goaltender. It's a lot like in soccer in particular, right? You only really notice them when things go wrong.
Right. Yeah. One of the things that he has, and I'll say this, and it's something that he has to improve at. He is a much better blocker when he does not have tight end help to his outside. He likes having his left side open.
Interesting.
Most of the time when he screws up, it's because there's a tight end there and he doesn't know how to react off
that.
He
doesn't communicate.
It slows his processing down some.
That's when you leave a running back there to help, right? Doesn't get in his way, and if someone beats him, he's there to help.
Have a fullback, have an H-back, have somebody like that. That's apparently what you're paying Nick Bowden for.
There you go.
Isaac Nauta.
There you go.
Camp Battle.
Camp Battles.
Camp Battle preview. Nauta versus Bowden.
Bowden. wins. Race fans. No, okay. So there we go. No, good stuff. So I'd love to see Decker coming back. That'll be good news. You can read all about it at anything that you buy from Amazon. I don't know. That's a terrible. That doesn't even make. That was like a hard wall, right?
If you want a Taylor Decker jersey, or if you want to get tattoo sleeve prints of his, you can probably find it at Amazon.
Well, I will tell you, I changed the landing page for Amazon.DetroitLionsPodcast.com, and those who've gone there have seen it. I'm sure they're pretty blown away. I didn't even know such a thing was available at such a price. It's outrageous. I mean, it's crazy. But if anytime you're going to Amazon, check it out. Amazon.DetroitLionsPodcast.com. They give us a kickback when you use that link. It goes straight to the site. It gives you a landing page and that special little thing you may find. Interesting to say the least. I thought it was great. Amazon.DetroitLionsPodcast.com. Anytime you go to Amazon, do it. Use that URL. It's a couple extra keystrokes, but for the cost of a couple extra keystrokes and not a penny more than the normal pricing you would pay, Jeff Baldman Bezos gives us a kickback. Don't feed him. Feed us. Help take care of the show that you love so much. Amazon.DetroitLionsPodcast.com. There we go. All right. 2 more topics we got to get to here. And Riz has a locker to clean out, so we're gonna make sure we get through this in a timely manner. Okay. Falcons game. 10 seconds of misery for the Lions fans. Bang this out, Case. You want to talk about it?
Okay. No, it came up in the
Wayback Machine
subreddit.
time.
It came up in the subreddit this last week, and we talked about. I remember talking about it in depth when it actually happened, and try to break it down for people. But I still think there's a lot of people out there who misremember exactly how it went down and/or misunderstood why it went down the way it did. So I just wanted to try to put a little,
So this is going back. This is going back to the Jim Caldwell season, his last season in Atlanta. Golden Tate does not get into the end zone,
right?
And on a goal line pass, and there's 11 seconds left, I think, at the end of the play.
They initially called it a touchdown and reviewed it, and because they reviewed it and decided it didn't go into the touchdown, into the end zone, there was a 10-second runoff, which they decided ran out the entire clock.
Mm-hmm.
The thing Lions fans were angry about was that it would have, if you actually look at the clock at the time that he was down, it should have left about if memory
maybe
serves,
a second and a half,
less than a second. By my personal,
it was very close.
It was like 0.7 or something like that.
Yeah.
And what I think a lot of, and okay, so first of all, the mistake that the referees made, the main mistake that the referees made was calling it a touchdown. But I'm not going to rag on them that hard for that because it looked like a touchdown.
The guy who signaled touchdown was behind the play, and Golden Tate's back was to him when he caught the ball.
Right. Mm-hmm. But it was so close. It was so close.
Yeah, it took multiple reviews.
That I have a hard time being super upset about them calling it a touchdown.
Agreed.
But what then happened with the 10-second runoff, they decided to call the game at that point. In theory, there should have been 0.7 seconds. What a lot of Lions fans don't know or don't want to recognize, from my perspective, I posted this. I posted a comment on the thread that got brought up, and boy, was it not popular. But I really do passionately believe that Lions fans should recognize this. Even if they had gone up and gotten a chance to put the live ball down, unlike a ball that goes out of bounds, unlike a incomplete pass, the second that the referee signals that it's a live ball, the clock would have started again. And that's before the snap.
Mm-hmm.
That's before the
Correct.
snap. And if you've ever seen how long it takes in a situation like that for them to, between the time the referee calls it a live ball and the ball is snapped, it's longer than 0.7 seconds. The chances of them just blowing the game dead before they even get the snap off are extremely high. There is a very solid chance that even if that had run the way that it probably should have been run, the Lions would never even had the chance to run a play. Like I say, the problem with it, the problem with it is that the referee called it a touchdown in the first place, because if he hadn't called it a touchdown, they might have been able to get another playoff. Although the chances of them being able to get a playoff of any, significant
it would have been
magnitude in that time is slim. I mean, it had to have been like the sloppiest of quarterback sneaks.
So
and I'm not saying that couldn't have worked.
That's your only bet on it. And like you said, the umpire is going to be there. He's going to back out, and as soon as he gets to where he needs to be, the official is dropping the hand, which means the clock starts. That snap has to be instantaneous.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen.
And by the way, the center cannot see when the ref is doing that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's usually a signal from the quarterback that tells them to go for it. So
right.
Yep. No, absolutely. But I mean, after the break, they could have been lined up. There's a possibility. I'm not going to say that it would have happened, right? I'm just going to say there's a possibility that
it's infinitesimal.
Yes. But the reality is, and this is where I think the problem with the whole thing is with the way the rule itself works. Eric,
the rule is awful.
I agree. I won't argue with that at all.
Eric makes a great comment in the chat right now that an untimed down would have been fair at that point when the refs stop it like that, because we do not want the refs to end the game. We don't want the refs to influence the game.
On an officiating mistake.
Error. Yep.
At the same time,
should never happen that way. Nope.
At the same time, just to finish this off, it probably would have been unfair to the Falcons if we had gotten a free play, because they stopped us. But listen to what I'm saying. If they stopped us short of the goal line with 10 seconds left, and we didn't have time to get up there and run a play. That's good on them. That's, that was a well done defensive stand by them. And if we had gotten the opportunity to run an unpressured play at that point, that wouldn't have been fair to their defense.
It would have been more fair than ending the game on the
I
official's
don't know
error.
about that. I don't know about that.
I do
because,
100%.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know, because
rule-
they stopped us. They stopped us fair and square.
With 11 seconds
there's
left.
10
Golden State didn't run deep
With
enough.
11 seconds left,
Right.
and the Lions can line up in 11 seconds. They've shown the Lions actually
Well,
did
yeah,
put a
yeah,
bunch
yeah,
of,
for sure,
so
for
they
sure.
could have gotten up and
I
run a
get that.
play if the Falcons had stopped them. So
but
that
can you
fact
imagine put yourself in their viewpoint, though?
I get it.
Because you stopped, the Lions have stopped a team at the 5-inch
line,
mark, whatever it is.
Mhm.
And the officiants just let the other team run another play.
Officiants, we're getting married now. Ofuscatate.
Yeah, fair enough.
That only happens
They
for the
just
Packers.
they just let the other team run another play. Like, how pissed would you be? Imagine that. Tell me
I
if you
think
want to tell me
everybody-
you wouldn't be pissed off in that circumstance. I'm going to tell you I don't believe you.
Everybody in the stadium and on TV expected another play. No one expected. Very few people expected that 10-second runoff in that.
I don't know,
moment.
man. I don't.
Nope.
I know Lions fans well
I
enough to
didn't know
know
it
they would
at
be
the time.
pissed off.
No, I
So-
know.
Stafford,
Everybody
to
expected
his
another
credit,
play.
Stafford knew it right away.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Everybody you can't say everybody, but you can say 90% of the people watching expected another play right there. They did. And that's really what should have happened. Lions side or not, I don't care. There should never
such
be
a
a game
terrible
that
rule.
ends because the refs screwed it up. And that's that.
I guarantee you, if the foot's on the shoe's on the other
foot's on
foot,
the other
that
shoe.
foot's on the other shoe.
It's really
That
uncomfortable.
Lions fans are very upset with the way that ends. If it ends not in our favor,
If
so
the foot's on the other shoe, the ending would have been obfuscated. That's for sure. All right, last piece. Okay.
Yeah, let's do this.
Obfuscated.
Yep.
Obfuscated.
I got to roll, boys. Let's do this.
Okay, last one. 3 games in one full season. 3 games of last season has been reviewed by the Riz. He's done that
Yes.
on Lions Wire. Talk about it, Riz. Tell us all the great work you're doing over there.
It's fun. I'm going through and I'm watching the broadcast tape, and then I'm taking a little break, and then I'm going back and I'm watching the all 22, and I'm taking live notes on it. And it's very much prisoner of the moment notes. It's not like, for the most part, I'm looking at exactly what's happening. You're getting more of a reaction. And I try to break down specific key plays. Some of the things that I found so far is the win against Philadelphia. I did the Philadelphia game this morning. The way that the 3-man rush worked in that game is probably a false positive that doomed the rest of the season. And it's very frustrating. And I will also say this. Carson Wentz is not going to last long. That's another takeaway from it.
Ooh.
Dude does not know how to protect himself.
Yeah.
You never had to in college.
No, he did not. Some of the things that I've seen, the offensive line, specifically Joe Dahl, has been better than I thought he was. I think Christian Jones has been very good through the first 3 games. He's been an impact player.
Interesting.
Which is surprising.
Interesting.
Remember, Jared Davis did not play the first 2 weeks. Jones played really, really well against the Chargers. The Chargers game, they won that game because the Chargers lost, plain and simple. They had 2 touchdowns, 2 third-down conversions in the fourth quarter, and 2 missed field goals that cost them in that game. I almost said San Diego. Los Angeles did that. They also were guilty of 2 god-awful penalties that the officials threw that shouldn't have been. So it's been fun. It's interesting going back and looking at it and seeing, like, there's things that I didn't necessarily remember. I didn't remember Ty Johnson getting the workload that he did early on.
How about Slay? Did you remember Slay getting worked? Because we got Sean in the chat saying Slay got worked.
Slay was Keenan Allen's bitch. There's no other way around it. It was bad, man. And by the way, the next week he's going against Nelson Aguilar because both Alshon Jeffrey and their other wide receiver Deshaun Jackson were out. And Justin Coleman was a hell of a lot better than Slay in those games.
Yep.
Someday, not today, we need to talk about Slay and man versus zone. But not today.
And what spurred this on was interesting enough. I happened upon the Redskins game, and I watched Terry McLaurin just also turned Slay into his bitch.
I love Terry
And that
McLaurin.
was that spawned me to like, how often does this happen? And I wound up
So
being
when we
just
talk about how Slay had a down year and you think we're making it up,
it was
back and
rough,
watch
man.
it. Please go back and watch it.
So Phillip Rivers was dead on looking for Slay. Like, is Darius over there? I'm throwing it over there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's a lot of fun things coming out of it. I will say, we are going to miss Sam Martin more than I think we are.
Oh yeah, I think you're right.
His control on punts, but also he is phenomenal at kickoffs, and that's going to be a big hole because Prater is not.
Right.
We were able to put a lot of those right at the minus 2 yard
He
line
was
and things
so
like that.
good
So,
at if they wanted to force the team to return the ball, Martin was phenomenal at it.
You're absolutely right.
That's a skill that is not easy to do.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey, Riz, I know you got to go, and we held you late.
I
I'm
do.
going to let you let's let you bounce now. Is that okay?
Okay,
And
that's
then
good.
you can go get your stuff done. Thanks a lot for joining us, man. Sorry
Right.
to keep
Thanks,
you a
Jeff.
couple
Talk
minutes.
to you again soon.
Yep. All right, we'll see you, brother. And he will zoom out, and much love for the Riz and all his help always. So, and then we'll just finish up the showcase if you're okay with that.
I'm not okay with that.
That's
I
good.
never want to finish. We'll keep going forever, Chris.
All right. While he does that, we're going to go ahead and really quick talk about something that I want to talk about. Fanatics, a lot like Amazon, right? Hey, you can get your Okuda number 1 jersey right now. And I'm going to tell you, this is going to be a limited time thing because once this is over, you're not going to find an Okuda number 1 jersey again. It's not going to be available. So if you want to get your jersey, head on over to fanatics.detroitlionspodcast.com. It'll get all your Lions gear, all your Lions stuff, whether it's a jersey, it's a hat, it's a t-shirt, it's a blanket, I think they probably have snowshoes for you, Case. Head over fanatics.detroitlionspodcast.com. You get all your Lions gear or college gear or hockey gear, basketball gear. It's all there and available. Again, last time, fanatics.detroitlionspodcast.com. Help the show out by doing something you were going to do anyway. All right. Taylor Decker is not that bad.
I don't remember this ever being an issue before with rookies and jersey numbers.
No, and it's true. They're selling his number 1.
I don't care.
jersey
I don't
right
care
now.
that much. I don't care that much about rookie numbers. I don't care that much about jersey numbers to begin with. But I know that a lot of people do. But I don't remember this being an issue for our top 2 rookies to be without a number until cuts get made. That's weird to me. That seems very strange.
I always have loved the number 1. I love number 1 in college because it's like an honor for a lot of teams to give somebody that number 1. They really have to earn it. It's really, really cool. The fact that Okuda is available as a number 1 jersey in this limited thing is got me like all over. I gotta buy one. I just gotta buy one. In 3 years, when I have the number 1 Okuda jersey hanging off my back, I'm gonna be a total OG. I'm going to be an OG with that jersey. That's going to be really cool, right?
Sure.
So, anyway, all right. Hey, let's do a really quick call. We got someone on the line. I'm going to guess he's from the TV show that you might have seen on Netflix from the Ozarks. Is this Brandon?
Yeah, it is.
How you doing, brother?
All right, and don't you dare slander me with that stupid show being from the Ozarks. That dumb thing is shot in Georgia where it belongs.
He could have been a lot more
anyway,
offensive
of course,
with that than he was.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, I tell you what though, it's worse with that stupid video that somebody shot. That was horrendous.
All you guys got to do is pull out the
cool
tax breaks over there. What's going on? You could have had it right there in your backyard. You could have been brushing with greatness all day long.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to bust your chops there, Brendan. How you doing, brother?
Oh, just fine. And listen, I just wanted to bring up an interesting. There's somebody in the chat brought up woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Yeah, yeah, with the Atlanta game.
And it's funny.
Woulda, shoulda,
Sirius
coulda.
XM NFL, and one of the no, not that coulda. Somebody, there was a topic on Sirius XM NFL on late hits, and that's what they had for 2 nights. Is what did your team have in a woulda, coulda, shoulda moment that you wish would have been different? So, believe it or not, I got on there, and in about 5 minutes, I gave them a 60-year history of the Lions, dating all the way back. In rapid fire fashion, I ripped off Bobby Lane, Roger Brown being traded, Greg Landry missing a winning touchdown against the Cowboys, I even included Billy Sims and his injury.
Yancey
And,
Thigpen dropping a pass in the end zone that would have gotten the Lions into the playoffs. Did you know that one? Do you remember? Did you bring that one up?
Oof.
Oh yeah, well
Deep
I did
dives.
get a chance
Yeah.
to the Calvin.
I'll never forget
the
it.
Calvin catch, Millen hired, and on and on, and then I got to thinking about well, you guys talked about it, the 10-second runoff, the flag that was thrown that shouldn't have been by Schwartz on the non-touchdown of the Texans.
Next thing you know, I'm homeless
mean-
and a drug addict. 'Cause-
Yeah, there you go. So
There's so
I
many.
said our three skill players are called woulda, coulda, and shoulda. Our quarterback, running back, and wide receiver.
Well, we got a cornerback there now for Okuda.
Yeah, we do.
He's going to be good,
I'm
though.
kind of I'm looking forward to seeing what this season's going to bring. I'm it's kind of I'm hesitant because I don't know what in the world is going to happen, but we've got to have players that's better than what we had last year. I just got to feel that we have been proved. But like what Jeff said, in his game reviews, there are some flashes of greatness, and then there are some flashes of what are you guys doing?
Yep. Well, I think
And,
just the fact that Matthew Stafford is standing again and throwing the ball, he
Yeah.
makes the players around him better. He is a player that elevates a team to a level. We saw it. How has Golden Tate done since he's left? Right? How about Chris Durham? Where did he land besides his greatness as a former roommate?
How many wide receivers, period, can you name who have left Detroit and done
Exactly.
better than they did in Detroit
That's
since
the thing.
Stafford came on?
Right.
You and having Matthew Stafford upright and active and throwing that ball puts us in a whole different ball game as far as how this team is going to perform this year. I feel like that alone is a big thing. And then I look at the players again. I feel people didn't like getting rid of Slay and grabbing Okuda. Boy, that's a big loss. That's a salary cap gain. That's a player that, if he plays as he has looked so far and how people believe he's going to play, that's an upgrade at that position. For a heck of a lot less money. We've got a team, I think, that's in a good place right now. That's got better talent. We've got an offensive line that looks pretty stout, actually. I think we're going to be pretty pleased with the guys, the draft picks we have, the rotation, and the ability to pick the right guys for the positions. At running back, I think we have the best running back room we've had in as long as I can remember. I expect multiple 100-yard games this year. I saw in the subreddit someone said the Lions have only had in Matthew Stafford's career 11, by his count, 100-yard games from the
single
running back.
Right.
Yeah. That's ridiculous, right? That's ridiculous. This team
It
has
is.
not been able to run the ball for a lifetime, for a generation at least, and for Matthew Stafford's
At
career.
least his career.
Yeah, and the ability
Yeah.
to bring that right now, it adds a whole new dimension. It makes Marvin Jones get more separation. It gets more separation from Kenny Galladay, Hawkinson healthy, right? Amendola, Huntley, all these guys. It gives this offense a whole lot more room to work with, and it gives defenses a lot more problems to have to solve. Somebody's going to be open, and when Matthew Stafford's there throwing the ball, he'll find them, and the ball will be there. I think this is a really, really good opportunity for this offense. If everyone stays healthy, I think this offense could come together and be one of the most electric offenses we've had in a long, long time in Detroit.
I've hit this up on Twitter a lot and talked to you guys about it before. On YouTube, is a lot of the older games. They're starting to flood now the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
There's about 4 or 5 guys that are all coming up with these games of old and from the 70s and 80s and 90s, of course. And if you guys get the chance, man, you got to look up some Billy Sims games. And they didn't win them all, but he made his presence known. But I tell you what is really interesting is this team we have now reminds me of a lot of what they had with Monty Clark. This is not the same team that like Wayne Fonts had.
Right.
Barry Sanders was the man, and he was it. And then of course you had the 3 receivers that eventually came forward. But back then, it isn't just Billy Sims. It was also Dexter Bussey and a couple of other running backs that added to the weight of the running game, and they ran the ball a lot more back then But they also had some really good receivers. There was some unheralded ones that people forget about, like Leonard Thompson,
Spider-Man Jones on the defense,
and Freddie Scott. Yeah. And,
he had his own record.
And then you had the Silver Rush.
Yeah.
That now that's not anything like this defense, but they were powerful.
Yep.
And they could get the job done. It's just really, if you're on Sundays and there's nothing to do, these games are full games, even some of them with the commercials, and I've been live tweeting them just for fun. I've gotten a few people kind of looking at them.
You got Billy Sims coming back at you. You get some love from him. That was great.
Yeah, and then I'll put in a clip of the game of the day, and of course is one Billy Sims highlight I never forget is when he dragged the linebacker into the end zone on Kansas City. And then another time is the one where he did the over the top. Barry never did anything like that.
No.
I mean, he pirouetted over it just like Marcus Allen used to do for the Chiefs and the Raiders.
Yep.
It was awesome.
Yep.
But I'm really encouraging you guys out there in the chat and anywhere else if you're listening to this on podcast later on. Check out YouTube. Punch in Lions 1980, 81, 82, 83. It doesn't matter. I mean, there was a couple of games that were tight and they lost, but for the most part, you'll see winners. And especially when they play Green Bay and Chicago, man, it's a beautiful game.
Awesome.
Yeah, those years against Green Bay were just fruitful years, man. Oh, yeah, no, good stuff. And it's actually a really good. I've been kind of, I don't want to say resisting, but I've been pouting about the no sports on TV and finding other stuff to do, and I'm like, I'm not watching old games. But you've definitely piqued my interest to go out and take a look at some of these games out there, because again, I remember I started, my antenna went up on the Lions when they drafted Billy Sims, and I just got locked in as a fan. He was the guy that I can blame all of this on, right? I mean, but those. Again, you're talking about that Spider-Man Jones with the Another One Bites the Dust recording that he did, right, with the team and the excitement that they had. That was just infectious, especially for a guy who's like, 8-10 years old at the time. You're just like, this is like, I'm in, right? It just sucks you in as a kid, and you got that going on, and then you a couple of tough years, and then you roll into Wayne Fonts, who rolling around with a cigar on his golf cart. You pull in Billy Sims, and so many. If you're not a Lions fan living in Detroit after the Billy Sims years, you just don't like football, right? I mean, you just have a problem with that problem. So at that point, that's
the truth. I tell you what. Something else I put on Twitter that some have been talking about, I'd like to see this in the Lions uniform. I'd like to see that in the Lions uniform. I really like them early 80s uniforms. When you see the game, you'll see what I'm talking about. They're of course, the home uniforms is the blue, but it's got, I think, blue numbers with white or silver outline. And it really looks sharp. I wish they had that at least for just one throwback, and this being the 40th year anniversary of Billy Sims being drafted. Yeah. I thought it'd be really cool. I just wish they would be able to do something like that.
My favorite part.
I tell you another thing.
My favorite part of the uniforms was the shoulder pads.
I'll just say this one.
Well, hold on. The shoulder pads.
How they were big they were. Yeah,
they were modeled after women's fashion at that point.
I remember going to church with my mom and falling asleep on her shoulder pads while we were sitting in the pew. They were very soft.
Oh, that's the truth. Well, listen. I'll get out of here. I'll just say one more thing though. Yeah. Something else you guys might notice when you start watching old games is the play calling. Watch how those plays were, but especially when they put Bussey and Sims in the backfield. I even hit up Mike O'Hara with this, and he said, you won't see, he doesn't think you'll see Swift and Johnson in the backfield like that, but he figures that both of them are going to be there, and one will move up to the line, because that's the newer version of the same thing they were running back then, because a lot of the offenses ran a split two-back set. And one would run out for a cat pass, the other would stay and block. Sometimes both of them would run out for a pass, and the screen game would be just outrageous,
Right,
so
right.
I'm kind of looking forward to that. And I'll go ahead and get out of here. You guys, really, check it out. And you want to see some football, especially if you guys are like under 35. You've never seen these games before. You may not even know the score. I don't even put the score in when I'm tweeting about them. I just talk about the stuff I remember, and especially a K car for $6,000, mobile oil for $1. You know, buy a brand new personal computer from Radio Shack for $800, and all it is a calculator.
Let me ask you something because this is good. June Jones's quote that Barry would have played 2 to 3 more years if they would have hired him. Do you think that's self-aggrandizing, or do you think that that's real?
June Jones.
June Jones. XFL great.
June Jones. Come on, man. He had what he was. They got rid of that offense with Miles Davis.
Yeah, I was going to say he's no Miles Davis.
Oh, just no. He's a college coach that does great because he's got a bunch of young kids can run around there and have a flashy offense. But you get that in the NFL, and you've got veteran defenses that know how to stop that mess.
Yep,
I mean, look what happened to the Oilers against the Bills. They didn't have a 4-minute offense. They just kept running the ball and passing the ball so fast that they couldn't stop.
But look what happened with the Bills against the Super Bowl.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, brother, I'm going to let you
anyway,
go.
We put all the children to sleep now. So,
oh, God, freaking millennial whiner. Go get your flat brim hat and sit in a corner. Real hats have curves. All right. No, that's pretty good. Okay, so one other thing, football related, not necessarily Lions related, then we'll call it. There has been one element of football on TV, and I don't know if you saw it. UFC's back, and Greg Hardy fought a week and a half ago. Did you happen, or 2 weeks ago? Did you happen to see it?
I didn't watch it.
It was a heavyweight bout, obviously, right? And UFC's a lot of fun. Love to watch.
Is he fighting with his girlfriend?
No, this was actually, and this is what made it so much.
I'm sorry, that's terrible. I'm sorry.
This is what made it kind of fun to watch, though, because he took a beating. He won, but he took an absolute. He just outlasted. He just literally outlasted and got just beat to pieces, and it felt good. Every punch that landed on him just kind of felt good. You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, this is good. Yeah. Ending didn't wind up the way I was hoping, but boy, that was something. That boy, he is still a big dude, and when you see those heavyweights, a guy like Hardy land a kick, you're just like, God, that would send me to the moon. Wow,
no, I'd be snapped.
Oof. So ESPN UFC this weekend, if you're looking for something. I've been enjoying the fights that they've had on, and just give me a little bit of something to do. So there you go. I think we got a show though, Case. Unless you've got something about diapers that you want to talk about, or the bottle nipples or anything for the millennials.
We'll save it for the next show.
Okay. For the millennial show. All right, with that, we're going to call it a show. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Remember, we're looking for your involvement. Use the comments in the subreddit to give us your feedback. We love your feedback there. It helps us get better, and it's a community show, so be part of the community and let us know what you like and don't, and we'll work on that. Also, don't forget about us on Patreon, patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast, patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast, as little as $1 a month. Of course, we'll take more, but that will get you access to the most intelligent live chat, or intelligent chat, Lions chat on the internet. Go on out in there and get in there and have some fun. Help support the show. Helps us do all the stuff we're going to do. We're still on for doing the training camp party as long as there's training camp. So as things kind of open up here and break themselves out, we will know more. But we're looking for that. And also, for sure, we will be doing the fantasy this year. We had a good run of it last year. It worked well the way we did it. We're going to do it again this year. So if you'd like, absolutely keep your eyes open. We'll start opening up the fantasy sign up, I think, at the end of June. Right around Case, we're going to be doing, we're less than a month away from being a 5-year-old show. Can you believe that? Yeah. Remember how it all started?
Starting to get to be like a good whiskey. We're getting closer all the time.
Yeah, we're not mellowed though. All right. Other stuff. What else do we got? We have got, sorry, caller. Make sure to follow us on the Facebook. Facebook is alive again. We're doing all kinds of stuff there. We're opening that up. Facebook.com/The Detroit Lions Podcast. Facebook.com/The Detroit Lions Podcast. On Instagram, Detroit Lions Podcast. And on Twitter at DET Lions Podcast. You can follow us there at DET Lions Podcast. Really the best place to see Case.
Sticking to everything I sit on.
I want to play it Painted Brown again, but I won't. Okay. Give us a call via Skype, Detroit Lions Podcast, all one word, Detroit Lions Podcast, or call us on the Lions line at 929-33-LIONS, 929-335-4667. And, of course, go to DetroitLionsPodcast.com, subscribe to the podcast so we can drop into your ears automatically. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to see you next time on the Detroit Lions Podcast. Remember, no pants, no toasters, no hot tubs, no problems, baby, because we're your Detroit Lions and Reddit connection. Whew. All right. Hey, YouTube, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Love it. Had a little bit of a gap between our shows here. I'll give you guys a little bit of inside scoop. I'm probably going to put together a one-off. There's a couple things we're going to do here and there, but we will do another show next week for sure, like a regular show. But I may drop some one-offs for you and do a couple live things on YouTube here in the next couple of days. So keep your ears open, just particularly over the weekend. Again, thank you, YouTube. Thank you, Case. We're going to see y'all